hateful person decides to say that he would like all Palestinians to die. Here it is.
You're not even a legal citizen. Get the out of my country. Get the out of my country. We'll kill them all. We'll kill all the Palestinians. It's done because they're terrorists. Terrorists. You're terrorists. Terrorists. You're terrorists. You're a bunch of terrorists. 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 You're a terrorist.
Put it up for a mass. It's one thing to hold a position, belief, a doctrine, an ideology. It is another thing to say things like, kill them all. Talking about an entire demographic, an entire community of people, of human beings. That includes, obviously, men, women, and children. Per Stop Arab Hate on X, this confrontation occurred in Los Angeles. Per the UN office, I want you to be reminded of this, per the UN Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, as of day 152 of the Israel-Hamas war, not Palestinian, more than 35,400 civilians have been killed. These are not military members. This number includes 14,622 children, 132 journalists and media workers, at least 364 medical staff, 165 United Nations staff. The number also includes those presumed dead under rubble. More than 73,000 people have been injured. Many of those injuries are critical. At least 20 people, at least 16 of whom have been children, have died because of malnutrition in recent days. The youngest one was 1 day old. This is important to the narrative as well, because those are lives that America, by way of our government, expressly said we don't care about. No humanitarian aid, no ceasefire in order to feed the innocent. So when individuals like this start spewing the hate, the extreme violence, and then the conversation of genocide, kill them all, it lets you know the spirit behind it. So they can consciously measure their words in front of an audience. They can consciously measure their words on social media. But when they are angry, when individuals who hold bigotry in their heart are mad, the truth of their own thinking betrays them. All right, hell of a thing. It needed to be exposed.
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to say that I think that sadly, this man's incredibly bigoted and terrifying remarks are not a far cry from what the Israeli government also believes and what it is carrying out, and what the United States is co-signing with our weapons that have not slowed down, despite now new calls for a so-called ceasefire, but of course only for 6 weeks, only to save face, only because we're scared of the uncommitted voters. And he begins that with, go back to your country. There are Palestinian Arabs, Muslims who are born in this country, who are from here, who still have family and relatives in Gaza, in the West Bank, and throughout the Middle East that have been vilified, targeted, and are being currently murdered. Last thing I'll say is this man's wearing a kippah. I guess he presumes that he's a religious man, that he's Jewish. This kind of genocidal rhetoric does not represent all Jews, does not represent them in this country nor around the world. In fact, they've been leading the calls for ceasefire, for peace, and an end to the occupation.
That's right. It doesn't represent a majority of the Jewish community.